back to Robert's Dirty Kitchen. What we're going to be preparing tonight, getting started tonight anyway, is to make some beef jerky. My brother really loves beef jerky, and I'm going to make a batch for him. I'll be seeing him next weekend, so of course there's several things you need to properly prepare beef jerky. I really like the flavor of chipotle, so I'm going to season this really with chipotle and some sea salt. You need a really good lean cut of meat, and I've selected a sirloin roast here, and I'll be slicing this for jerky and then preparing it with a dry rub to marinate overnight before I start to smoke it in the morning. I've got a good sharp knife to slice my beef, and then the other thing that we need is wood chips. Now I'm going to be using these mesquite wood chips. I'm going to soak those in water overnight as well, so that they'll smoke real slow, they'll burn real slow, and I'm pouring these in some water right now. So they'll be ready in the morning to go in the smoker, really add some really good flavor to this beef while it dries it out. So I'm going to get into this package here real quickly. I just pulled this out of the refrigerator so it's kind of cold. And get rid of that. Cut the cord off of this so that we can really just lay it out and slice it. Now what we're going to try to do is slice this in 1/4-inch slices. We're going to try and get it just as even as we can, so that it dries out in the smoker pretty thorough. But what you can do is smoke it for about 3 hours. By then you have all the smoke permutation that you need, and then you can finish it off in your oven for several hours to really get it nice and dry, so it's nice and preserved. Now, one thing to remember here as you slice this, as you begin to slice this, is you want to be sure and get all the fat removed, so that it doesn't begin to defecate, so that it doesn't begin to rot. Fat can begin to rot regardless of being dried out in just a matter of hours. So we're going to start slicing this, and again, we want to look at the grain of the meat. We see the grain runs this way, so we want to run our cuts opposite the grain. So we're going to run our cuts really, instead with the grain running this way, we're going to run our cuts this way. So I'm going to start here on this corner of the meat and just begin to slice off 1/4-inch or so thick slices, just like this. And the ones on the end are going to be pretty small, but that's okay. We just want to keep slicing here. We'll get some longer pieces that we'll then need to separate lengthwise, so that we have some some thin pieces of jerky that we can then. And then the next thing I'm going to do, the thing about a dry rub is your meat, the meat that you're going to rub needs to be very dry itself. And while this is pretty dry, you still see it's kind of shiny. So what I'm going to do is, once I get this laid out, I'm going to take a paper towel. I'm just going to pat it dry just a little bit before I start to put my seasoning on there. I take my sea salt and just sprinkle it liberally across the meat. Some will get a little more than others. This is not an exact science. There's no measuring to do here. You just want to get just a liberal amount of salt on the stuff. And then the chipotle seasoning. I buy this at Sam's Club in the bulk pack like this. We're going to go pretty heavy with the chipotle, because that's where it gets the really good flavor. Now, there's several ways I could do this. I could do teriyaki. I could do something really hot, but I like the combination of the chipotle seasoning and the mesquite wood. So I'm going to sprinkle this really liberally here, more so than the salt. I want to make sure I get good coverage with this. And then as the name would imply, let's make sure I get covered real good. I'm going to rub this in real good. Now it looks like I'm really just patting it here to make sure it's rubbed in good, but I want to make sure that sticks to the meat really well. Because what we're going to do now, we're going to flip it all over and do the other side, just like we did this one. Notice I kept my paper towel there because I'm going to dry the back side too. you know, the prep time on this is really the biggest time. Once you get this in the smoker the next day, it's depending on what kind of setup you've got, it can be a pretty much unattended thing for most of the day. I mean, you shouldn't walk away from a burning fire or a grill or something like that for extended periods of time. But in this case, if you have it in a, you know, a safe place away from your home, you could probably do that and just let this thing smoke all day, or about 3 hours, and then pull it in, put it in your oven, and finish it off. Okay. Now we've got that all turned over, so I'm just going to pat it dry again with my paper towel on the back side. Picking it up a little bit. That kind of thing. So now once we have all these rubbed, we want to seal these so that the flavor really stays in there. Now I'm going to just jump over here and get, if somebody hasn't used them, some Ziploc bags. And I may get all this in one Ziploc bag, but I want to pack it in here pretty tight so that no air can get to it. So I'm going to start to put these in here. Just get this towel out of the way. Start to get this meat in this bag here so that we can trap all the air in and really let this flavor really just soak into this meat. Hold that here. So again, we're just going to pack it in there really tight, and then try and get all the air out that we can, and then seal it up. And now we're ready to marinate in the refrigerator overnight. Jerky is kind of fun to make, and of course it's fun to eat. You can eat it anytime, and I hope you'll join me. You'll stay with me, that is, in my dirty kitchen as we take that jerky and we put it in the smoker tomorrow morning. Good night.